Well, Thabo Bester's upbringing is in the spotlight as his criminal activities continue to shock us all. Home Affairs Minister Aaron Motsoaledi revealed recently that Bester briefly attended a primary school in the south of Johannesburg. That was in 1997. eNCA senior reporter Silindelo Masikane visited the school and she joins us now. So, Slee, you found the school. Tell us a little bit more about it and when Bester was actually there.
So this is a school that's in the south of Johannesburg, in Kibble Park to be exact. And from what we know from actually visiting the school, is that it seems that the Home Affairs Department may have gotten their information a bit mixed up, because from what we understand from the records that the school has, Thabo Bester started or was enrolled at law school Doniteron in 1997, and he was enrolled by a guardian at the time. That guardian, we understand, was the employer of his grandmother, and he didn't have any, documentation, birth certificate, but already at that time, the laws had stipulated that even if a child didn't have a birth certificate, they could be enrolled to start school, and then the department or the school would then assist in getting that documentation for the child. We know that he spent at least 7 years at law school Doniteron. What we also know is that it seems in the third term of his grade 7 year, that is when Thabo Bester seemingly disappeared, and was unfortunately no one knew exactly what happened to him returning or continuing with his schooling. From some of the information we've gotten from the teachers who remember him, Sally, he was, from what I understand, a brilliant child. He had a lot of potential. He was very smart, I understand, kind, and quite the sportsman as well. He played rugby at law school Doniteron, and apparently, in terms of what teachers observed, he had the potential to be really someone who could be great. We had an opportunity then to speak to the Department of Education here in Gauteng. Here's Steve Mabona.
According to our records, yes, he did attend schooling here. He started in 1997. He was brought here by a guardian, not by a father or a mother. So without any documentation, we must confirm that. So as a department, you will know that we cannot deny education of a child because of a documentation. So we have a constitutional obligation to provide education to all our children. So we then did, register, him, and he then, continued with schooling up until grade 7. So he left. We are informed that he left during term 3. Did not come back, and that's the last time he was seen in a schooling environment.
So does this suggest that he doesn't have an education past the end of grade 6 and most of grade 7? Is there a possibility that he completed schooling elsewhere?
So from a close family that actually was quite, entrenched in the upbringing of Bester, because their child spent a lot of time with Bester. From their understanding, it seems after that third term in grade 7, it's unclear whether he continued with school, but it's highly unlikely because it seemed at that age he started to pick up those bad habits of lying, of stealing, and was seemingly also stealing from those who were close to him. I spoke to a family that says that one of the few times they saw him after his schooling stint at law school Doniteron was when he was in a juvenile center a Busasa juvenile center. And at that time, he was about 17 years old. And we understand that the correctional, or should I say the juvenile center rather, had called this family because Bester had registered them as his family. And they said to them that, look, Bester is in possession of a blazer that belongs to your child. So please come and collect it. This particular family also spent time seeing him in prison after he was convicted of the heinous crimes that he had committed. They had seen him at Lukop as well as in Mangaung. And they said to me, in fact, that when news broke that he had died in his cell, they were the ones who were preparing to bury him. And they all of a sudden got a call to say, you know what, it's unnecessary, you don't actually have to come anymore, it's been sorted out. So this particular family knows a lot about who Bester was before he started, getting into criminal activity, getting into really negative kinds of environments. And they said to me that, they're really disappointed in how things have turned out for him. And at this point, they believe the only intervention that Bester needs right now is God. Let's take a listen.
My son's phone got missing in the house one day, and we were looking for him. That was at night, right? So we were all looking, and he helped us look for the phone, and we couldn't find the phone. The next morning, Tabu left early, and he was gone. He came back. He had money, and we asked him, but my son said no. I don't think that is the money that he got, because the phone wasn't worth that money. It was fine. I spoke to him, and then I think a month, 2 months again, they were playing outside, we were busy, and then money got missing in the house. It was the children in the house, we didn't have visitors. So it's during the week, and we asked, and he will help us search into the wardrobes, wherever, tell us maybe we must place it here and there. Yeah, we will look for it, and we couldn't find it. But then he will leave for a day or two, and then he's gone. And then when he comes again, he has money.
And Slee, it points to a real troubled childhood. And I know that you've listened to the interview that Silindelo Masikane, who of course is the former police profiler, he did with him. I think it was way back in 2011, where Bester alluded to, that he himself had been abused. We understand that he is a product of rape. And the fact that he didn't have papers also suggests that chaos around his life. As you stop, you've spoken to his mum as well. I'm wondering where the granny is. Is she passed on already? And the bigger picture that you are getting now of this man.
It's really quite interesting, sadly, because for me, I was really keen to find out who this person was before, he was dubbed the Facebook rapist. I don't think anybody is born and then their intentions is to turn out to be a criminal. Something happened in his life, a lot, it looks like, happened in his life. His childhood was just very chaotic. And from speaking to those who were close to him, it seems that he was quite frustrated at the fact that not having documentation was preventing him from progressing in a lot of the activities he enjoyed, like rugby, like academics, because post having to leave or disappearing in his 7th year of primary school, that is when those opportunities seem to come along. And that family I spoke to, their child, they were very close with that child, and that particular child was also quite successful in his schooling career and was getting opportunities to partake in provincial or national teams when it comes to specific activities. And Bester just could not, be able to get those opportunities because he just did not have the papers to do so, which they believe is why he stole their child's blazer, which was obviously decorated with a lot of those achievements. And they believe that I think he just really felt as if he was getting the short end of the stick where he does have that potential to really become, a member of society in good standing, if I can put it that way. But simply, he just had a lot stacked up against him, one of which being he just did not have an ID, he didn't have a birth certificate, and that simply just prevented him from being able to progress in some of the things that he wanted to do.
Yeah, thanks so much, Slee. It's interesting, he did have the opportunity to get an education at a good government school. And ultimately, I suppose, someone with such a traumatic past also has to make a choice about the path they are going to follow. Absolutely fascinating information. Thank you so much for bringing that to us this evening. That, of course, is our senior reporter, Silindelo Masikane.